Do I still smoke weed? Let's talk about it. So, uh, I get this question every video I post. I know I haven't been posting a lot lately, but I still get it all the time. And I haven't been responding to those questions because I wanted to make this video. Um, and there was still some stuff I had to sort out for myself internally before I could really share with you that answer. And let's just get straight to the point. Do I still smoke weed? The answer is no. Um, Smoking in general is something that I realized I don't like to do. And I'm talking about the act of smoking, right? Whether it's tobacco or marijuana, hookah, whatever. Um, Smoking is something that at a very young age I decided that I wasn't going to do. Sorry, brushing away the dust in the air. And although, I have an appreciation for smoking, I understand everything that comes with that act. Um, with the help of my own personal coach and some conversations with really good friends that know me well, uh, I came to this realization that smoking is a deep, deep, deep violation of my personal values, as well as my goals, and um, my health, right? And I highly value my health, especially these days. And so smoking is something that does not align with that. That said, there's a caveat that I have for my own personal self where if the opportunity presents itself and it is one of those, like, for example, okay, excuse me, if I fucking meet Snoop Dogg one day and he offers me to smoke with him, I'm smoking with Snoop Dogg. You get what I'm saying? And so it's right, but that's so basic. So no, right? Other than the most rarest and unique of situations in which I would be more than happy to, smoke in that scenario. Smoking is not something I'm interested in, for mostly the health reasons, and many other reasons as well. But that's number one. Okay. But then the question becomes, do I use marijuana at all, right? Whether it's edible form, vape, I put in the same category as smoking, not interested. And the thing with vaping and smoking weed is that it's so short-term pleasure, it's so immediate that I find it to be dangerous is a little too strong of a word, but it is such a powerful dopamine outlet. Powerful is not even the word. Such a strong short-term dopamine outlet that I am not going to allow that into my life, mainly because of the way it fucks up my dopamine reward circuits. Some of you might relate with this, right? Like, either when you have weed in your life, it's like, oh my God, I just want to keep smoking it. But then when you either take a break or you quit, it's like, okay, I'm good, right? And that, so that's another reason as well. The health reasons, and just it's a major, major distraction. And I'm not interested in those types of distraction. Okay, so now going back to edibles. So, I've done this before, right? Those of you who've been following this journey, I've I've tried to just use edibles before. And I actually want to share with you a most recent story, okay? And I have to give you guys some context. So, um, the last month and a half, goddamn, I'm sweaty. Last month and a half, I've made a lot of changes, across the board. I've really been prioritizing my health, my sense of fitness and nutrition, and in general, what drives my decision making are my goals, right? My sense of integrity, my personal values, my obligations, my responsibilities, things of that nature. And basically, I partake in things that support all of that stuff, and I do my best to limit, restrict, or remove anything that takes me away from that stuff. right? And so, for example, what my days typically look like, um, I have my morning routines. I have some form of exercise in the morning. I have various responsibilities throughout the day, whether it's work, whether it's chores, whether it's errands, or people, right? Like my girlfriend, family, friends. Um, I might have another workout in the evening, and then I have to plan the next day, and then we're on with it, right? Some type of chill mode in the evening, right? Some type of relax, recharge, whether it's watching TV, or I might have a popsicle or video games or what have you, just bullshitting on my phone. And then it's rinse and repeat, right? That's what my days typically look like. And the reality is that using edibles on a day-to-day basis as a normal part of my lifestyle, day to day, doesn't work. And for the similar reasons as smoking weed, it just acts as a major distraction, because I actually be like it would be let me back up, okay? And I want to be concise. Again, my priorities and what matters to me are my values, my integrity, my sense of growth, my goals, my responsibilities, right? All the stuff in that realm. And the reality is that using weed, whether it's edible form or even smoking on a day-to-day basis, it doesn't support all those things. For me personally, it just doesn't. And that's just something I've had to accept, but not even accept. It's really about being so crystal clear on what's important to me and choosing the things that either support that or don't. And it just happens to be the case for me that using marijuana on a day-to-day basis doesn't support all those things. And I'm okay with that, right? Because what makes me happy is tending to all that stuff. And that's what has me ultimately be happy and fulfilled and satisfied in my life, is when I'm pursuing my sense of growth, my values, my integrity, my goals, all that stuff. Um, and there's a lot that goes into that, right? But that's the basic form of it. Now, do I use edibles? The answer is yes, I do at times. Okay, but only in a way that aligns with my goals, my integrity, all that. And so what that looks like is, I'll go a month and a half of just sustained effort, focus, growth, milestones, accomplishments. And then at some point, I typically will get burned out. Not burned out, but I am seeking rest. And a different type of rest than, like, at the end of the day being tired. It's like, okay, no, like, it's like typically when a person would like need a vacation, right? Because they've been working so hard for a prolonged period of time that they need a series of days to reset, right? A vacation. And I've found for me personally that it is in that vacation window, that natural part of the cycle of action and success, right? In that vacation window, I'm okay personally to partake in edibles. And I've discovered for myself that one dose of 10 milligrams a day for 1 to 3 days, I'm cool with. But once that part is over, I don't have any weed in the house, period. Because again, it acts as a distraction. And the name of the game isn't how can I have weed in my life, right? The true name of the game is how can I just continue growing? How can I continue focusing on what matters? How can I continue staying aligned with my values and my integrity? And how can I continue showing up powerfully in my life and continuing the habits, the regimens, and all the different things that are positive in my life, right? And then, I see if marijuana is something that can support that journey in some kind of way, and I also see where it couldn't. And so far, The process that I've discovered is, again, I don't smoke whatsoever. Um, I don't even take edibles most of the time, right? Because it just doesn't support me, and then I focus on just crushing it day to day, and then once it's been a little bit, like a month, month and a half, sometimes 2 months, um, and if it makes sense, right? And that's the thing too, like learning to be honest and be in tune with myself when it comes to marijuana usage, right? Even in that vacation mode, which is new, right? That's new territory. Because before, and I think typical stoner weed culture is like, do it whenever, and it's fine, and then even more so, like in the addiction and dependent space, it's like you can never do it, right? So as you guys, for those of you who have been following this channel, we've been on a quest to like figure this out, right? Like, is it the case that we can never do it again? And I really want to hammer home that the big difference, it's not about how can I fit weed into my life. The big difference is that what matters to me is my values, my integrity, my growth, my goals. My values, my integrity, my growth, my goals, my responsibilities. That is number one. That is number freaking one. And then everything else either falls into place and supports that or gets eliminated because it doesn't. Because that's ultimately what makes us happy, y'all. Like on a day-to-day basis. That's what has us be happy. The fact that we're pursuing things that matter to us, we're growing, we're facing adversity. And mind you, Ken, this is what I've discovered as well. In particular for me and those like me and us, right? The ability to like use weed every day is like kind of soft. Okay, and I'm not trying to judge people. Everyone's different. You get to decide for you, but like it is because it's such a big reward. Smoking weed is such a big reward. And the reality is we don't need it, right? But we use it even though we don't really need it. And I've found for myself that not using weed to deal with life, not using weed as a part of my remedies, even for entertainment, that it's important for me to do that. Because in a very kind of weird way, being sober, right? Being sober and facing my life with all the different things that go into it, right? Without needing marijuana or without using marijuana, right? It has me face a type of adversity that I think is important, especially for people that come from, heavy weed usage. Because in a lot of ways, that type of usage is like wanting to cope, essentially wanting to escape the something people call it using it as a crutch, right? And it's kind of a cop out, you know what I mean? And again, this isn't about bashing weed or anyone and how they use it. I'm just trying to share my experience, which tends to be helpful for a lot of people watching this channel. So it's like, because for example, okay, let me dive into the most recent edible vacation that I took, right? Very quickly, so the first night that I did it, I actually did 15 milligrams and I was blasted, right? I hadn't used for like 2 or 3 months. I was absolutely blasted. And it was fine, right? Like, it's really no different than when I have like a heavier night of drinking, which also doesn't happen that often. But what I didn't like was, I towards the end of the high, I was like chasing munchies and I like wasn't feeling well. And I don't like that, right? Like nothing against munchies, but I as much as I can, I want to limit like junk food binging, so that was day one. And then day two, I spent the first half of my day, I worked out, I did this, that, and the other. Again, goals, alignment, integrity, values, right? And then again, still in the vacation window, I took 10 milligrams of an edible, and it was fine. It was really subtle, not, whatever, chill, chill, chill. Um, but very quickly, right? Like that old version of me that just is gonna turn to marijuana for everything, right? Oh, I'm feeling tired, I'm feeling exhausted. Let's just take edibles, right? Or oh, I'm bored, let's take edibles. Or oh, I crushed it today. Let's just enjoy some edibles. And again, there's nothing wrong with that inherently. But I just, for me, like, I that's not how I like to live, right? I That's just not how I like to live. I like to, if I'm feeling down, let me just go rest on the couch, right? Put on the TV. And if, oh, I crushed it today, let me celebrate with resting and like watching TV. And I couldn't, I don't know why that is, but that just is the case for me these days. And I'm okay with that, right? I've had to really accept like the nature of this entire situation, all things considered. Um, and then after the third day, right, third and final day of using edibles for this mini vacation period, um, I decided that I have to throw it away. Like I had some edibles left, but I had to throw it away, right? And that would be considered like a blasphemous, right, to the stoner culture, like, oh my god, right? And don't get me wrong, at one point, just like many of you, it's like, oh, I'm not throwing weed away, right? Like, absolutely not. But here's the reality, is that, again, I just know that if I keep this around in my house, I am setting myself up for failure. I'm keeping a distraction in my space that simply doesn't need to be there. It's no different than if someone wants to lose weight and is committed to their nutrition. What's the point in keeping chips right at your desk? Right? There is no admiration or respect that comes from, oh, the chips are really tempting me, but I have the discipline to not eat them even though they're in front of me, right? Like, kudos to anyone that wants to do that, but the name of the game is, how can I set myself up? How can I make it such that eating healthy is easy, right? And eating junk food is hard, right? And part of that is, okay, let me remove the junk food from my space so that's easy, and put healthy food in my fridge so that it's easier to have healthy food. And if I did want to have chips, I gotta get in my car, I gotta get my keys, I gotta get money, I gotta go to drive down to the store, it's like, okay, no. So it just makes the right decision easier, right? So same thing applies for me and these edibles, right? It's like, and for the longest time, y'all, I'm like, I need to be someone that can have it in the house and like not let it affect me. But it's like, dude, like, who cares about that? I already know that if I don't have it in my house, I'm fucking golden. And that's exactly what happens, right? Like, vacation time is over. Either get rid of the edibles or give them away or what have you, and it's over. Okay, it's really no different than me and alcohol, right? Like, okay, if I have a beer, like, let's say one night I want to have a beer, okay, I have the beer. And like, say I'm halfway through and like, I don't really want it anymore. I'm not gonna fucking put the beer in the fridge and like bottle it back up and be like, gotta save this for later, right? It's like, no, I'm gonna fucking throw that shit down the drain, fucking put it in the recycling bin and move on, right? And again, the big shift is prioritizing what's best for me. And in that, the decision becomes easy, right? Because if my goal is to do what's best for me, then okay, of course I'm going to throw it away, knowing that it's a distraction and knowing that the temptation is going to be really high, no pun intended. And if I put myself at risk for no good reason, right? So it's like, what's the point, right? There is no point. And so that's the long story of it. Don't partake in smoking anymore. Prioritizing growth, health, goals, values, integrity, relationships. um, giving myself permission to use edibles when I'm in serious actual need of rest, right? Typically, after 1, 2, 3 months, um, and listening to my instincts, listening to my spirit, right? Um, Several days ago, I thought about, not several days ago, last week, I thought about, right before I did this little mini vacation, I thought about, okay, yeah, it's time, let's go get the edibles. But then there's this part of me that was like, no, I'm not really feeling it. Let's just go home. And that is not something that I listened to in the past, right? In the past, it was like crackhead status. Let's fucking go. Nothing was stopping me from going to buy and use, right? And so, that's another aspect that's now at the table. But that's it. Hopefully that gives people some insight for themselves as well. Maybe connected some dots for you too. And I'm excited. I feel that my intention is to post 2 to 3 times a week moving forward. There is a ton that I have to share with you guys, not just with weed, but just with general life stuff, right? And I don't just mean for myself, right? I mean, because all of this stuff is actually related. Okay, and what I mean by that is, I still have people that message me all the time about they're conflicted with their weed use, and that typically means they're also conflicted within themselves, emotionally, spiritually. There's typically certain areas of their life that are not going well or they're not pursuing. And that's all related to the fact that they're like using weed haphazardly, right? Because what really has us feel good in life is when we are tending to the things that matter, right? And so if your health is in the shitter and you're still not doing anything about it, that hurts. Deep down, that hurts. And then even more so, instead of pursuing that and making a change, you just smoke weed, smoke your face off, and have munchies, and further declining your health, that hurts even more, right? So just apply that type of phenomenon with other areas of our life, right? Let's say, like, you have a job, but it's not really what you like. You're kind of depressed, but instead of changing your situation, you just cope with it and numb it by just smoking and dealing with it by smoking and then just getting your ass to work again the next day, right? And so, point being, a lot of times negative weed use, not singularly, right? This is not the only explanation, but a lot of times when we're using marijuana in like a toxic way, it's because we're not taking care of ourselves, point blank. And part of taking care of ourselves is not abusing things, right? So even that alone is part of the problem, right? That's why for many of us, once we stop abusing it and either we take a break or we don't smoke as much, we start to feel better, right? Because we've been abusing it, which means we're abusing ourselves. And so there's so many different layers. And my goal is to really, a big part of this channel, and big part of my goal and my vision is just to continue serving people because, I can firmly say I've gone through a lot when it comes to this whole marijuana thing, a life as it relates to like marijuana abuse, and then all of these different little things that have helped me along the way, all these different insights, all these different breakthroughs, all these different this, that, and the other tools that, all this. And so I really am committed to helping you guys, and building something and growing something in that. And so anyways, that's it. I hope everyone's doing well. I appreciate everyone watching the video. If you have any questions, comments, leave them down in the comment section down below. And that's it, y'all. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.